As was mentioned, the difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition is one of the main things that separates in-status and out-of-status students. But Adey, you're also ineligible for a whole raft of other benefits, aren't you? What are some of those?
I mean, if we're talking about college admission, obviously work-study, the ability to work, actually work, employment, so that you can, work part-time and go to school part-time, which is the way a lot of students make their way through college. You're also ineligible for scholarships, as we just saw for that student. You're ineligible in most states to drive. If you don't have a social security number, you can't get a driver's license. You're ineligible for Upward Bound and other programs that really try and take talented students and make sure that they get into college. So there's a plethora of programs that you're ineligible for.
And Roy, you mentioned that these people are eligible for deportation, and certainly that's true. But in most cases, we're also talking about people who, for the most part, aren't going home to Colombia or Ecuador. Their lives are here in every practical sense of the word.
This is why the in-state tuition issue is kind of it seemed like to me a non-issue. I mean, the question is why do you want in-state tuition for these kids when they graduate, they still can't get a job, not legally. They can't do a lot of things legally. If the end result is not legal status, I don't think in-state tuition makes much difference.
But the DREAM Act, as currently written, includes that.
That's right.
It?
But I mean, that's why I think you have to get at the real issue, which is not in-state tuition, but it's whether should these kids be given legal status and amnesty. And my own personal position for some time is that that is what we should be moving toward. The DREAM Act is a badly flawed bill that we can't support for a number of reasons. But I think these kids would have a real chance if they were a much more narrowly written bill that would not have as much opportunity for fraud as this bill does. Because in this bill, once you make a claim on an application for this amnesty, you can't lose that amnesty unless the government brings a specific case against you to prove that what you claimed was wrong. That's way too open. And it also opens it up to people who are up to the age of 35. The key problem between the DREAM Act, though, is that it doesn't do anything to keep kids from being in this position in the future. These kids are in this position because, in this case, the girl's mother put her in that position. She came here illegally. She was allowed to have a job. Unless we accompany an amnesty for these kids with something like the SAVE Act, which is Senator Pryor of Arkansas and Congressman Schuler of North Carolina, Democrats, that SAVE Act, which requires verification for every worker in America to make sure that illegal workers can't hold legitimate jobs.
But let me understand a little bit further, because I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, that this gives you transitional status during your time as a student, and then puts you on the road to permanent residency if you complete the credential.
Yes.
So how are you in limbo at the end of that? You're in transformed status, and your parents are not. It doesn't do anything to what they're in.
I'm just saying. I agree.
The DREAM Act as written.
Yes, it does that. Yes, but I'm saying that the DREAM Act does nothing, though, to keep more mothers from bringing their kids in, raising them illegally in this country.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't just give an amnesty without dealing with the enforcement problem that created this situation in the first place. And I think that the people who want to advocate, the organizations advocating, the politicians advocating for these kids, need to deal with that reality, because amnesty is very unpopular. It depends on, I agree, polls will show if you describe it in certain ways, people will go along with it. I think most Americans think that these kind of kids deserve some kind of chance, but they want to make sure that you're not opening the door for just an unending, one amnesty after another, because you never solve the problem.
But in practical terms, hasn't that been a recipe to do nothing, since your holding up a fix for a fairly small number of people, having it wait for some sort of legislative response to the lives of over 10 million people. Saying, yes, we have to fix this huge, huge thing before we make this small legislative
But the SAVE
fix.
Act's not really that huge. It's, I mean, the apparatus.
No, but comprehensive immigration
No, I mean,
reform
we
is huge.
oppose comprehensive immigration reform. I mean, so we're not saying hold up for that. We're saying hold up for actually carrying the 86 amnesty, promised the American people we would not have future illegal immigration because we would deny jobs at the workplace. But the government never put in place the apparatus that would actually keep illegal workers from getting those jobs. Hence, these kids' parents were enticed to come and take these jobs, and they were able to hold these jobs for all these years, 15, 20 years. Now these kids are in this situation. We don't want to see that happen, you know, so we just have these, every 5, 10 years we got to have another amnesty, which is basically what's been happening.
Serena, as a practical matter, how are the institutions you represent, Hispanic serving institutions, handling the lack of passage, the lack of a DREAM Act right now?
Well, obviously our schools support the DREAM Act. How are they handling it? Well, that's the reason that I'm here today, that I spend the majority of my job lobbying on Capitol Hill for the act, because it's incredibly important for the schools. To have the students there. They value them, as Adey was saying earlier, economically as well, for support for the states. It's a very important piece of financial stability for the schools, and they find it very, very important that this act passes.